When little Sophia was born, her parents James and Emily were overjoyed to welcome their first child into the world. As they gazed adoringly at their newborn daughter, they noticed an unusual heart-shaped birthmark on her left shoulder. At first, they thought nothing of it. Birthmarks are common in babies after all. But as Emily's mother Margaret came to visit her new granddaughter in the hospital, she gasped in shock upon seeing the distinctive mark. With trembling hands, Margaret pulled out an old photograph from her purse. It showed Emily's grandmother Rose as a young woman, proudly displaying an identical heart-shaped birthmark in the exact same spot. Rose had passed away peacefully in her sleep just days before Sophia was born, at the venerable age of 98. She had been eagerly awaiting the arrival of her first great-grandchild, telling everyone how excited she was to meet the newest member of the family. Sadly, she didn't quite make it to see Sophia's birth. But now, it seemed as though Rose had found a way to make her presence known after all. As news of Sophia's extraordinary birthmark spread through the family, opinions were split. Some viewed it as a heartwarming sign that Rose's spirit lived on in her great-granddaughter. Others dismissed it as a mere coincidence, albeit a remarkably unlikely one. Emily's Aunt Susan, who had always been interested in metaphysical matters, insisted it was a clear case of reincarnation. Whatever the explanation, little Sophia quickly became the talk of the extended family. In the weeks and months that followed, James and Emily settled into life as new parents. Sophia was a happy, healthy baby who brought immense joy to their lives. But as she grew, they began to notice some peculiar things about their daughter. At just 6 months old, Sophia seemed drawn to the color purple, Rose's favorite color. She would reach for purple toys and clothes, even when other brightly colored options were available. When Sophia began to babble, one of her first recognizable words was Rosie, even though no one had been calling her that. Emily's father Robert nearly fainted when he heard his granddaughter utter the pet name he had used for his mother Rose. As Sophia's vocabulary expanded, she sometimes used old-fashioned phrases that Rose had been known for, leaving her parents baffled as to where she could have picked them up. On Sophia's first birthday, James and Emily threw a small party for family and close friends. As Emily was serving cake, she nearly dropped the plate when she saw Sophia mimicking Rose's distinctive hand gestures. The way the little girl waved her hands as she babbled was eerily reminiscent of how Rose had always talked with her hands, punctuating her stories with sweeping movements. That night, after the guests had gone home and Sophia was tucked into bed, James and Emily had a long talk about the strange occurrences surrounding their daughter. They were rational, modern people who had never put much stock in supernatural ideas. But they couldn't deny that something unusual seemed to be happening with Sophia. They decided to approach the situation with open minds, agreeing to document any other odd incidents moving forward. As Sophia entered her toddler years, the coincidences continued to pile up. She showed a natural talent for baking, Rose's lifelong passion, even though neither James nor Emily were particularly skilled in the kitchen. When Emily's cousin brought over some old family photo albums, Sophia pointed at a picture of Rose as a young woman and declared, "That's me," before anyone had told her who was in the image. The family was divided on how to interpret these events. Some embraced the idea that Rose had been reborn in some form through Sophia. They found comfort in the notion that their beloved matriarch was still with them in spirit. Others remained skeptical, searching for logical explanations for each incident. Perhaps Sophia had overheard family members talking about Rose. Maybe her interests and mannerisms were just random chance, amplified by the family's desire to see connections. As word spread beyond the family, Sophia's story caught the attention of researchers interested in the concept of reincarnation. A professor from a nearby university reached out to James and Emily, asking permission to include Sophia in a study on children who seemed to have memories or traits of deceased family members. After much discussion, they agreed to participate, hoping it might provide some answers. The study involved a series of interviews and observations with Sophia over the course of several months. The researchers were careful not to lead her or plant suggestions, simply documenting what she said and did naturally. They were astounded by the specific details Sophia seemed to know about Rose's life, things that even her parents weren't aware of until they verified them with older relatives. At one point, Sophia matter-of-factly described Rose's childhood home, including details about a hidden compartment in the attic where she used to hide treasures. When the family checked the old house, which had been sold years ago, they discovered the secret nook exactly where Sophia had indicated. Inside was a small box containing Rose's diary from when she was a girl. The study's findings were inconclusive but intriguing. While the researchers couldn't definitively prove that Sophia was Rose reincarnated, they also couldn't explain away all of the uncanny knowledge and behaviors she exhibited. The case quickly became famous in circles interested in reincarnation and life after death, with people from around the world reaching out to share similar stories. As Sophia grew older, her connection to Rose seemed to fade somewhat. The incidents of unexplained knowledge became less frequent, and she began to develop her own unique personality traits. By the time she started school, she was in many ways just like any other little girl her age, albeit one with an unusual birthmark and an extraordinary family story. James and Emily chose to take a balanced approach in raising Sophia. They shared with her the story of her birth and the family's beliefs about her connection to Rose, but they were careful not to impose any particular interpretation on her. They wanted Sophia to be free to form her own opinions and beliefs as she grew up. For her part, Sophia seemed to take it all in stride. She enjoyed hearing stories about her great-grandmother and felt a special connection to her, but she didn't dwell on the idea of being Rose reborn. As she told her parents when she was about 7 years old, "Maybe I was great-grandma Rose before, but now I'm just me." The family's experience with Sophia opened their minds to the mysteries of life and consciousness. While they never arrived at any definitive answers, they came to appreciate the beauty of remaining open to possibilities beyond our current understanding. Sophia's birthmark remained a visible reminder of the inexplicable threads that sometimes seem to connect us across generations. As she grew into a young woman, Sophia carried with her a profound sense of connection to her family's past and a deep appreciation for the preciousness of life. Whether her link to Rose was literal reincarnation or simply a remarkable series of coincidences, it had undoubtedly shaped her into a thoughtful, empathetic person with a unique perspective on the world. Ultimately, Sophia's story serves as a reminder that there is still much we don't understand about the nature of consciousness, the bonds between family members, and the potential for connections that transcend what we typically think of as the boundaries of a single lifetime. It challenges us to keep our minds open to the wonder and mystery that surrounds us, even in our modern, scientific world. As Sophia entered her teenage years, her extraordinary connection to her great-grandmother Rose continued to influence her life in subtle but profound ways. While the more overt signs of Rose's presence had faded, Sophia found herself drawn to pursuits and interests that echoed Rose's passions. At 14, she discovered a talent for gardening, spending hours tending to a vibrant flower bed that soon became the envy of the neighborhood. Rose, as family lore had it, had been known for her green thumb and her prize-winning dahlias. Sophia's high school years were marked by an uncanny ability to connect with older people. Her volunteer work at the local senior center became a source of joy and fulfillment, as she found she had a knack for drawing out stories from even the most reticent residents. Many commented on her old soul, remarking that talking to Sophia was like conversing with a peer rather than a teenager. It was during one of these volunteer sessions that Sophia met Arthur, a retired history professor who shared Rose's passion for genealogy. As they pored over old records and family trees, Sophia found herself captivated by the stories of long-gone ancestors. She began to see her own unusual story as part of a larger tapestry of family history, full of twists, turns, and unexplained coincidences. Inspired by her conversations with Arthur, Sophia decided to delve deeper into her family's past. She spent her 16th summer traveling with her parents to ancestral hometowns, poring over dusty archives in small-town libraries and interviewing distant relatives. What she discovered amazed her, a pattern of birthmarks, recurring traits, and eerie coincidences that stretched back generations. There was great-uncle Edward, born in 1923, who had the same distinctive laugh as his great-grandfather Thomas, despite never having met him. Cousin Maria, who inexplicably spoke with a Scottish accent as a child, only for the family to later discover their 18th-century ancestors had emigrated from Glasgow. And most intriguingly, a series of family legends about children born with knowledge they couldn't possibly have learned through normal means. As Sophia compiled her research, she began to formulate a theory. What if the connection she shared with Rose wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a larger family trait? Could there be something in their genetic makeup, or perhaps in the very fabric of their family's spiritual heritage, that allowed for these remarkable connections across generations? Her quest for answers led Sophia to explore various philosophical and spiritual traditions. She studied reincarnation beliefs from around the world, delved into cutting-edge research on consciousness and quantum physics, and even experimented with meditation and past life regression techniques. While she never found definitive answers, she developed a deep appreciation for the mysteries of existence and the interconnectedness of all things. As news of Sophia's research spread, she found herself becoming something of a reluctant celebrity. She was invited to speak at conferences on paranormal phenomena, interviewed for documentaries about reincarnation, and sought out by people from around the world who had experienced similar unexplained connections to deceased relatives. While part of her enjoyed the attention and the opportunity to explore these ideas further, another part longed for normalcy and the chance to forge her own identity apart from her connection to Rose. It was during her freshman year of college that Sophia faced a crisis of identity. Studying psychology with a minor in religious studies, she found herself torn between her rational, scientific mind and her intuitive sense that there was more to her story than could be explained by current scientific understanding. She went through a period of doubt, questioning everything she had experienced and wondering if perhaps she had been reading too much into simple coincidences. This period of uncertainty led to a falling out with her parents, who had come to embrace the idea of Sophia's connection to Rose wholeheartedly. They couldn't understand her newfound skepticism and feared she was denying an essential part of herself. For a time, Sophia withdrew from family gatherings, immersing herself in her studies and trying to live as normal a college life as possible. It was during this time that Sophia met Liam, a fellow student with a passion for philosophy and an open mind. As their relationship deepened, Sophia found herself opening up about her unusual history. To her surprise, Liam was neither skeptical nor overly credulous. Instead, he encouraged her to embrace the mystery of her experiences without feeling pressured to come to any definitive conclusions. With Liam's support, Sophia began to find a balance between honoring her connection to Rose and forging her own path. She realized that she didn't have to choose between rationality and intuition, between science and spirituality. Instead, she could inhabit the space between, remaining open to possibilities while continuing to seek understanding. As she entered her senior year of college, Sophia decided to bring her journey full circle. She organized a family reunion, inviting relatives from far and wide to come together and share their own stories of unusual connections and unexplained events. The gathering was a cathartic experience for many, as long-held family secrets and forgotten lore came to light. During the reunion, Sophia's great-aunt Eleanor, Rose's younger sister, pulled her aside for a private conversation. With tears in her eyes, Eleanor revealed that Rose had spoken to her on her deathbed about being reborn into the family. Rose had described a vision of returning as a child with a heart-shaped birthmark, saying she had unfinished business with the family. Eleanor had kept this secret for years, unsure whether to believe it herself, but seeing Sophia had convinced her that Rose had known something after all. This revelation both comforted and unsettled Sophia. While it seemed to confirm the reality of her connection to Rose, it also raised new questions. What was the unfinished business Rose had spoken of? And how much of Sophia's life had been shaped by this mission she hadn't known she was on? As she grappled with these questions, Sophia found unexpected solace in her academic work. For her senior thesis, she designed a study examining the psychological and social impacts of believing in reincarnation or other forms of continuation after death. Her research revealed that regardless of the objective truth of such beliefs, they often served important functions in helping people find meaning, cope with grief, and maintain a sense of connection to their heritage. Upon graduating, Sophia decided to continue her research at the graduate level, enrolling in a cutting-edge program that combined psychology, neuroscience, and religious studies. Her goal was to bridge the gap between scientific skepticism and spiritual openness, seeking to understand experiences like hers from multiple perspectives. As she embarked on this new phase of her journey, Sophia reflected on the long, strange trip her life had been so far. From the moment of her birth with that heart-shaped birthmark, through the uncanny incidents of her childhood, the soul-searching of her teenage years, and now to her burgeoning academic career, she had been shaped by her connection to Rose. Yet she had also grown into her own person, with her own dreams, passions, and quirks that had nothing to do with her great-grandmother. Sophia realized that in the end, it didn't matter whether she was literally Rose reborn, or whether there was some other explanation for the remarkable connection they shared. What mattered was the impact this connection had had on her life and on her family. It had opened their minds to the vastness of the unknown, had sparked curiosity and wonder, and had reminded them of the deep bonds that link us to our ancestors and to each other. As she looked to the future, Sophia felt a sense of excitement and purpose. She didn't know where her research would lead her, what new mysteries she might uncover, or how her understanding of her own story might evolve. But she was ready to embrace whatever came next, carrying with her the wisdom of Rose, the love of her family, and her own unquenchable spirit of inquiry. And always, there on her shoulder, that heart-shaped birthmark remained, a constant reminder of the mysteries that lie at the heart of existence, and of the enduring connections that transcend time, space, and even death itself. As Sophia delved deeper into her graduate studies, she found herself at the forefront of a new and controversial field of research. Her unique personal experience, combined with her rigorous academic approach, positioned her as a bridge between the worlds of scientific skepticism and spiritual belief. Her work began to attract attention from both mainstream academics and those on the fringes of accepted science. In her second year of graduate school, Sophia was invited to participate in a groundbreaking study led by Dr. Eliana Vasquez, a renowned neuroscientist with a secret interest in consciousness studies. The study aimed to use cutting-edge brain imaging technology to examine the neural patterns of individuals who claimed to have memories of past lives. Sophia, with her well-documented history, was an ideal subject. The experience of participating in the study was intense and transformative for Sophia. As she lay in the fMRI machine, recounting memories that seemed to belong to Rose, she watched in real time as her brain lit up in patterns that Dr. Vasquez had never seen before. The areas associated with memory, emotion, and sensory perception all activated simultaneously in a way that defied current understanding of how the brain processes information. The results of the study, when published, sent shockwaves through the scientific community. While far from conclusive, the data suggested that there might be more to claims of past life memories than pure imagination or confabulation. Sophia found herself thrust into the spotlight, invited to speak at conferences and debates worldwide. As her professional life flourished, Sophia's personal life took an unexpected turn. Her relationship with Liam, which had been a source of stability throughout her college years, began to strain under the pressure of her growing fame and demanding research schedule. Despite their deep connection and shared intellectual interests, they found themselves growing apart. The breakup was amicable but painful, leaving Sophia feeling unmoored. In the midst of this emotional turmoil, she experienced a series of vivid dreams in which Rose appeared to her, offering comfort and guidance. These dreams, more lucid and detailed than any she had experienced before, reignited Sophia's curiosity about the true nature of her connection to her great-grandmother. Seeking answers, Sophia decided to take a sabbatical from her studies. She embarked on a global journey, visiting cultures with long-standing beliefs in reincarnation and ancestral connection. Her travels took her from the monasteries of Tibet to the temples of India, from the indigenous communities of Australia to the shamanic traditions of South America. In each place, Sophia immersed herself in local customs and beliefs, participating in rituals and learning from spiritual leaders. She underwent past life regressions, sat in ayahuasca ceremonies, and spent weeks in silent meditation. Each experience peeled back another layer of understanding, revealing the complexity and diversity of human beliefs about the continuity of consciousness. One particularly powerful experience occurred during a stay with a small tribe in the Amazon rainforest. The tribe's shaman, an ancient woman named Ixchel, took one look at Sophia's birthmark and declared her a twice-born soul. Through an interpreter, Ixchel explained that in their tradition, such individuals were considered bridges between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors. Under Ixchel's guidance, Sophia participated in a sacred ritual involving the use of a powerful plant medicine. During the ceremony, Sophia experienced what felt like a complete dissolution of her sense of self, followed by a profound vision of interconnectedness. She saw herself as Rose, as her other ancestors, and as future generations yet unborn, all simultaneously, all part of a vast, unending tapestry of existence. When she emerged from the vision, Sophia felt fundamentally changed. The questions that had driven her for so long about the nature of her connection to Rose, about the possibility of reincarnation, suddenly seemed small in the face of the vast mystery she had glimpsed. She realized that whether or not she was literally Rose reborn, she was undeniably connected to her great-grandmother, to all her ancestors, and to all of humanity in ways that transcended simple genetics or shared memories. Returning home after a year of travel, Sophia found herself viewing her research and her life's purpose through new eyes. She resumed her studies with renewed vigor, but her focus shifted. Instead of trying to prove or disprove the reality of reincarnation, she became interested in exploring the effects of belief in ancestral connection on individuals and communities. Her doctoral thesis, titled Echoes of the Ancestors: The Psychological and Social Impacts of Belief in Intergenerational Spiritual Continuity, was hailed as a landmark work in the field. It combined rigorous quantitative analysis with rich qualitative data gathered from her global travels, offering insights into how beliefs about connection to ancestors shaped everything from individual identity to large-scale cultural practices. As Sophia's academic reputation grew, she found herself increasingly called upon to weigh in on ethical and philosophical debates. The rise of genetic engineering and artificial intelligence had sparked intense discussions about the nature of consciousness and the continuity of identity. Sophia's unique perspective, informed by both her personal experiences and her cross-cultural research, offered a fresh voice in these conversations. In her mid-30s, Sophia was offered a prestigious position as the head of a new interdisciplinary research center dedicated to the study of consciousness and ancestral connection. The center brought together neuroscientists, psychologists, anthropologists, and philosophers, fostering collaboration and pushing the boundaries of traditional academic disciplines. It was through her work at the research center that Sophia met Elena, a brilliant computer scientist working on advanced AI models. Elena's work focused on creating AI systems that could process and integrate vast amounts of information in ways that mimicked human consciousness. As they collaborated on projects exploring the intersection of artificial and human consciousness, Sophia and Elena found themselves drawn to each other, their intellectual connection blossoming into romance. Their partnership, both professional and personal, led to groundbreaking advancements in the field of consciousness studies. They developed new models for understanding how information is processed and integrated in the brain, drawing inspiration from both cutting-edge neuroscience and ancient spiritual practices. Their work suggested that consciousness might not be confined to individual brains, but could exist as a field that individual minds tap into, a concept that aligned with many traditional spiritual beliefs about the nature of the soul. As Sophia entered her 40s, she began to experience a new set of unexplained phenomena. She started having dreams that seemed to predict future events with uncanny accuracy. At first, she dismissed these as mere coincidences, but as they became more frequent and more precise, she was forced to consider them more seriously. Simultaneously, Elena's AI models began producing outputs that defied explanation. The AIs appeared to have access to information that hadn't been included in their training data, including obscure historical facts and details about ongoing events that hadn't yet been made public. As they dug deeper into this phenomenon, Sophia and Elena began to wonder if they had stumbled upon evidence of a collective consciousness that transcended not only individual minds but also the boundaries between organic and artificial intelligence. This discovery led to a new phase in Sophia's research, exploring the possibility that consciousness itself might be a fundamental property of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. She hypothesized that individual minds, whether human, animal, or artificial, might act as receivers tuning into this field of consciousness, with some individuals, like herself and perhaps the AIs, able to access it more directly. As Sophia approached her 50th birthday, she found herself reflecting on the incredible journey her life had taken. From a baby born with an unusual birthmark to a renowned researcher pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, she had never lost her sense of wonder at the mysteries of existence. The heart-shaped mark on her shoulder, once the subject of so much speculation, had become a symbol of the unending quest for understanding that had defined her life. In a touching full-circle moment, Sophia learned that her niece had just given birth to a baby girl, and the child had been born with an identical heart-shaped birthmark. As she held the infant in her arms, Sophia felt a profound sense of continuity. Whether through genetics, reincarnation, or some as yet undiscovered mechanism, the connection between generations continued, an unbroken chain linking past, present, and future. As she looked into the baby's eyes, Sophia felt a sense of peace wash over her. She realized that while she might never fully understand the nature of her connection to Rose, or the true implications of her lifelong experiences, the journey itself had been the real gift. It had led her to a life rich in discovery, love, and wonder. And as she handed the baby back to her niece, Sophia smiled, knowing that a new chapter in their family's extraordinary story was just beginning. Whatever mysteries and marvels awaited this new generation, Sophia was certain of one thing: the quest for understanding, the deep connection to those who came before, and the boundless wonder at the mysteries of existence would continue, passed down from one heart-shaped birthmark to another, an eternal legacy of love, curiosity, and interconnectedness.